My coordinators, Victoria and Anubhav, are happy to have you today. And we hope that our speaker lineup will be informative and generate lots of good discussion. I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker, Dr. Lawrence Boytet. Dr. Boytet is currently and recently appointed the assistant professor in the Department of Medical Education in the Heersink School of Medicine here at UAB, and the director of biomedical trainee wellness in the UAB Medicine Office of Wellness. During her time as an ARACTA postdoctoral fellow at UAB, she focused in the field of organizational behavior. Her research aims is to inform the development of interventions and educational programs that aim to retain and support the success of individuals in biomedical research. Thank you, Dr. Boytet. Please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Oh, wait, I'm not even showing my screen. Can you see and can you hear me?
Both.
Okay, perfect. As Dr. Clark said, I am an organizational behavior researcher, and I'm going to spend some time talking to you about, starting my stopwatch, to talk about how to craft and maintain healthy training environments. I have no disclosures to report, except for the fact that I once was a kidney researcher. Oh my God. I got my PhD in cell biology back in the day, so I'm not just some stranger coming and pretending like I understand your experience. I was you. So I'm hoping to spend the next like 9-ish minutes sharing some information with you and starting a conversation that hopefully we can continue talking about during question time and beyond if you really need to. So very excited. So today I'm just going to talk to you about the importance of stress, like what, and why it's important in our training environments, the components of a healthy training environment, then discuss a little bit about psychological safety and how we can achieve it, and then show you some skills in job crafting that I'm very excited to show you. So just to get some engagement, feel free to take yourself off mute or type in the chat or whatever, but what does it mean to actually have a healthy training environment? What does that mean to you? Just, let's see, support.
We have support.
Mm-hmm.
Proper training.
Proper training, right? Learning things that we can actually take into our next stage of our careers, right? Awesome. What else? It's fine. I'll just tell you. So what we actually see from the literature is that connection and communication are big pillars for establishing trust in healthy training environments, right? So connection resonates with belonging. Like, do I fit in the space that I work? And communication means that I feel safe to communicate my needs alongside other things that people might need to know. Well-being and respect. So well-being means that boundaries are actually encouraged and I'm allowed to set them, and respect is given to those boundaries. Treating people like human beings is what it boils down to, not just chess pieces in the acquisition of our next grant. It also means recognizing that we're all invested in lifelong learning. So we have these opportunities for growth. So we're able and given the space to explore and identify resources like people, training, skill sets, and knowledge that we're going to need to get to our next step in life and achieve our goals. And all of these things actually lead to the ability to engage in work at the highest level because it behooves us to strive for acquisition of healthy training environments, since research has shown just time and time again that healthy people bring the most profits. But as we all know, working in science means that we work with people, and where people exist, so does conflict. So I just wanted to take just a tiny second to talk about stress. Stress is good, distress is bad. So when we feel stress, or rather just reframing stress to feeling as if we're challenged, then we're able to focus on our work without the negative distractions or barriers to our efficiency and our productivity. So when we give away the good, hard stuff, or the stuff that challenges us, we as academicians get bored and seek improvement. But when our daily lives are infiltrated by these duplicative processes or extraneous conflict, excessive workload, long working hours, no time off, all of these other stressors, we move into the state of distress, burnout, and exhaustion, where we might start to lose interest in the passion that we used to have for our jobs. So everything and much that I do is informed by the job demands resources model. So in this model, it's an occupational stress model that essentially says, if I have a lot of challenges or demands, but I don't have the resources with which to actually achieve, overcoming them, I sit in this state of burnout. And what we're all striving for is a state of work engagement where our demands and our challenges are high, but our resources are actually high too. So we're actually matching this high demand with the resources that are necessary to match them. And that's where you reach work engagement. And that's what we love. And that's what we love to see. So when we talk about science and we talk about resources and approaching challenges, what are our greatest resources? Does anybody know or have an idea?
Money.
Yes, money. But what's more important than money? Who gets each other? Peers, people. Exactly. People. Because science is a team sport, right? We can't do much of science without other people helping us. Actually, what we say in organizational behaviors, teams outperform individuals. I know all of us as researchers deeply feel that. So we can start thinking about our research environments using the greenhouse model. So this was established by Jen Lim, who's an organizational psychologist. She has a great book called Beyond Happiness. I encourage you all to read it. And no, I don't get paid money to tell you that. But if we establish our working environments, as trainees join working environments, or as PIs hire people on in our working environments, you share the same values and behaviors. It really behooves us that we start moving towards our higher purpose. So whatever our higher purpose is, whether it's getting that next grant, curing polycystic kidney disease, whatever it might be, we're all kind of rooted in it together. So if we all have the same or similar values and behaviors, and we're all working towards the same higher purpose, it's our responsibility as individuals in the training environment to nourish those that higher purpose. It's just rooted in our values and behaviors by these greenhouse conditions. So that's with control, progress, and connectedness. So when we have control, this means giving people autonomy and agency over the work that I do. So we're empowering people with trust and allowing them to make their own decisions. Progress, this means not setting far off reaching goals, but setting short attainable goals to keep us motivated to keep going. And of course, connectedness, because we all love a collaborative spirit in science. And through this, it's really important to notice that we're not pointing fingers at anybody like it's your fault that we don't have a healthy training environment, because we're all stakeholders in a productive and safe working environment. So it's important for us as trainees to take control over your situation and learn skills to use your voice and make decisions that can help you manifest a better outcome for yourself. And if your current situation kind of feels threatened. So when we talk about feeling threatened, we talk about psychological safety. And I just want to share with you a little bit of data to turn this into kind of like real life of what we see. So I did a survey of trainees, and I was looking at psychological safety as an outcome of some statistical modeling, and found that about 50% of the weight in the model was contributed to by a sense of belonging, a sense of recognition, and a sense of respect. If you think about psychological safety and you read theory on psychological safety, that's yes, duh. Of course, those things make up psychological safety. So we drilled down a little bit on what it means to have a sense of these three things. And belonging means that I feel like my organization supports me, meaning that when I look out in my training environment, I feel like I belong because I feel supported. I think somebody mentioned that in the chat. A sense of recognition means I understand what I do as a trainee, and I have agency over the work that I do, and I am able to make mistakes and make my own decisions. I'm recognized by an organization as somebody with a brain. And then respect. I trust and have confidence in the people that are the person that I work for. And that kind of interpersonal relationship is driven by that respect. And we found that when all of these things are achieved, we actually have lesser incidents of burnout, distress, and turnover and tension in trainees. And also we make
2 minutes.
Oh, geez, Louise. All right, let's keep going. All right, so I wanted to leave you with job crafting, some skills in that, because this is how we use our voices to take advantage of taking control of our environment. So Greg McKeown said, if you don't prioritize your own life, someone else will. So there are 3 types of job crafting that I want to kind of expose you to, and then we can continue to talk about it at a later time. But when you think of job crafting, you probably think of task crafting, meaning what can I do to make my job more amenable to my passions and talents? Relationship crafting, meaning how can I use the people around me in order to attain my goals? And cognitive crafting, meaning I might not be able to do what I want to do with my job at the current moment. So how can I reframe how I think about the situation until I figure out how to tangibly fix something? So we talk about demands. We talked a little bit about challenging demands. This is when I say don't give away the good, hard stuff. This is the stuff that you take on that says, yikes, this is hard, but this is going to launch me into a state of growth versus hindering demands, which are things like administrative tasks that are unnecessarily complicated and duplicative. When we think of resources, we think of structural resources like professional growth opportunities, getting a volunteer undergrad to come help us, things like this, versus social resources, networking, mentoring, bonds with other coworkers. How this might look is increasing your structural resources, like asking for more autonomy in your job, increasing your task variety, and increasing support. Social resources like meeting with your career development specialist at your university and talking about what those next steps are and how to get there. Decreasing hindering job demands, learning how to delegate, and increasing challenging job demands like taking on a new project or asking for a larger role in an ongoing project. 10 minutes is not enough time to tell you about these things. So I'm excited to talk to you now and beyond. I've left my email in case you want to pick my brain going forward, but I'm excited to talk to you guys. So, yay. I did it, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Lauren. We appreciate you and your very engaging presentation. We're going to open it up for questions now. We have 5 minutes. One question I have, since you are, I would like to have your opinions on how to structure a lab using these techniques and enforcing or encouraging this job task behavior in your team.
So is this from the perspective of like, I am a mentor or I am a trainee?
Yes, I am a mentor.
I'm a mentor. Okay, this is really great because I think just from my experience and kind of what I've learned from the people that I interact with this kind of study, is that a lot of times mentors are stuck seeking people with skill sets, right? So they're not really interested in personality and things like this, and that can get very dangerous when you're interested in this one person's skill set and not necessarily how they fit into the culture of your lab. Again, happy people bring profits, meaning that it's going to be very difficult for me to change somebody's values and behaviors, but I can teach them skills. So if you kind of bring, and as you're interviewing people, seeing if, you can, I want to say vibe, that's not a good technical word, but if I can get along with these people and if I feel like they're teachable students and not somebody I want on my team versus somebody who might be crappy, but can do cryo-EM or something crazy, and with that, you have license, especially if you're developing individual development plans or things like this, you have license to go back and say, this is what we talked about. This is the contract that we signed. And if they deviate from that, you can come back and redirect them back to their path. But recognizing that people are people and not chess pieces is very important to this and good to remember.
Absolutely. All right, we have time for one more question because I know we're already behind schedule. How can funding organizations encourage these practices between the fellows that they fund and their mentors? Very good question.
That is a loaded question, and I'm not sure that I know the answer because I think, well, I'm trying to think of how I want to answer this because I'm not sure if I want the funding organization meddling in my day-to-day life. I feel that it's more important for us as trainees to learn how to, again, take control of the situation that we're in, because if we can look at those predictors of psychological safety, and we look at the components and make up that, then we can say, do I feel like I can talk to my mentor about these things and establishing these ground rules? And if I can't, then realizing that as a trainee, my well-being is more important than the lab that I'm in, and I can leave it. And it might be hard, but it's well worth staying well as a person because you'll be able to do bigger and better things in a place where you feel like you can thrive. So really putting it back on the trainee, it is your responsibility to do something about it. I can help you do it. That's why I have this job.
Excellent. Thank you so much again, Lawrence. We appreciate you, and we will move on to our next introduction.
Thank you for your time.
And hopefully you'll stick around for the panel discussion at the end, where if anybody has anything else they want to ask, we have time at the end of all of the speakers.
Sounds great.
All right. So for our second speaker, I'm really excited to introduce Elise Hoover, who's the current Vice President of Research Program at the PKD Foundation. She holds a bachelor's degree from New York University and a master's degree in public health from Boston University. At the PKD Foundation, she manages the research programs, including their scientific advisory panel and research grant and fellowship programs. And most importantly, she led the launch of two novel and impactful programs in ADPKD, the Patient-Centered ADPKD Registry and the Centers of Excellence in ADPKD. Today, she'll talk about the PKD Foundation research funding and collaborative opportunities there is. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Just want to say quickly that it looks like Dr. Boytette and I have similar glasses, so pressure's on for whoever is the next presenter. All right, hold on. Can you see my my presenting side? Or are you seeing a different view?
Yeah, no, it's the PKD Foundation slide, is it?
See, hold on, I'm gonna reset my...
It's the right view, you're good.
Oh, and then I just closed it out. 1 second, I'll put it back. All right, excellent. So hi, everyone. My name's Elise. I'm here with the Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation. I'm really excited to share with you some of our tools and resources that we've created for you. But above all, just want to encourage you to reach out and talk to us if you have questions or things that we can do to support you. So the PKD Foundation, we've been around for about 40 years. We fund research, we advocate for patients, and really we want to build a community for all of those impacted by and affected by PKD. I just want to highlight here that we were originally titled the Polycystic Kidney Research Foundation. So our goal has always been to provide dedicated research funding for PKD. And we were founded in 1982 and gave out our first grant in 1984 for $25,000. We're giving out much more now, but it's just funny to see where we came from. Just want to quickly tell you about our founders. Of course, Dr. Jared Grantham, he was a fantastic scientist, a researcher, a mentor, and we still see his mentorship legacy throughout the PKD research space. And of course, he has a fantastic legacy at KUMC and at the foundation itself. And then Joseph Bruning was the other founder. He was a patient stakeholder. His wife and daughter had the disease. He basically read an article that interviewed Jared Grantham about PKD and about the lack of research support for dedicated funds. So they teamed up, they founded the organization. And this is important to highlight because we still see that partnership between researchers and the patient community to be really key to the work we support. These are the various ways in which the foundation supports research. Of course, we fund it. We advocate for dedicated funds at the federal level. We support clinical trial recruitment, and we also engage with the FDA. Just going to focus on a few of those briefly. All right, so our research fellowship. So our goal here is to not only fund your ideas, but encourage you to stay in the PKD field long term. The award is $120,000 over 2 years, and the application actually opens in a few weeks. So the deadline will be in January 2024, with funding then starting in July. So I hope that you'll all check this out and consider submitting something. Here are the eligibility criteria. So we ask that you hold an advanced degree with no more than 4 years of research training after you receive that degree. Of course, there are exceptions for medical leave, FMLA, COVID-related complications that we all just went through. And I provided a QR code here and in a few other slides as well, so you can quickly go there and learn more about these different areas. Here are some projects that we funded this year. I believe there are a couple of our fellows and grantees in this room, so hello. I encourage you to go read the summaries of these projects and just to get a feel for the kinds of research we'd like to fund or the kind of investigators we'd like to support. Here's our research grant. So, of course, we've evolved into a patient advocacy organization, so we'd love to see projects with translational potential, right? Ultimately, we want to contribute to the development of clinical interventions, but we fund projects along the entire research spectrum. The grant is $160,000 over 2 years. So unfortunately for this one, we're already into the cycle. So fellowships, we don't accept pre-applications, but in grants we do. So we accepted those through the summer. They're currently under review, and then a select number will be invited to submit full proposals for that January deadline. But the cycle is the same every year. So next June, please keep an eye out if you're interested in applying for this grant. Here's the eligibility criteria. same thing, we want an advanced degree and we want to see a faculty appointment. And most importantly, we accept grant proposals from all over the world, same with fellowships. We don't restrict funding to US investigators. We also have some great co-funding agreements with our counterparts in Canada and Australia. Okay, I want to highlight our Young Investigator Award specifically. So these awards, these grants are submitted at the same time as a regular grant. Basically, the 2-year proposal goes through the standard grant review. If it is deemed eligible for funding, it is then that we look and see who might fall into this category of a young investigator. So although we ask you to justify your eligibility and what you would do with that third year of funding in the initial application, we first just want to make sure you make it through the review process as a regular grant itself, and then we'll pull you out. So really, what's important here is that we have some more flexibility on the eligibility to submit. So we want you to be faculty by the time the funding begins. So let's say you think that it's reasonably likely that if you get this award, you would be awarded faculty at your institution. That's enough for us to move forward without you being fully eligible for the grant. We're hoping that some of these awards will move people up into the faculty positions. So that's why we're a little flexible there. If you have questions about that, let me know. And yeah, and then here's that QR code as well. Here's our 2023 awardees. Some really neat projects here. Encourage you to check them out. And I believe we have one young investigator, yes, in this cohort, Dr. He from Mayo. Okay, so we also founded and are now members of the PKD Outcomes Consortium. So if you're interested in catalyzing the regulatory pathway, as we say, please join us. So this is made up of academic researchers, industry, FDA, and is managed by the Critical Path Institute. You heard Dr. Fidelis just present in the previous session. And we have 3 working groups. They're focused on modeling, biomarker work, and also patient-reported outcomes and patient-focused drug development. So doing some really exciting things. If you go to this QR code, we have summaries and publications from our 2021 virtual summit where we talk about the conversations that led to the formation of these working groups. Okay, we also have an advocacy arm. So among other things, we advocate for PKD-specific research funding at the federal level. And I just wanted to show you this chart, which represents the DoD funding through the peer-reviewed medical research program. That's where PKD falls. And it does need to be updated, but I just want to show you that. So we're in purple, and the green is the average for all other topic sections. And if you look at 2018, $0. That is because we did not advocate in Congress for PKD to be on the list. So it's really important that we do that every year. The more people we have engage with us, the better. So if you're interested in joining, let me know. The easiest thing to do is to sign up for our advocacy alerts, and then we let you know when we need you to raise your voices with your member of Congress. And then, of course, I hope you're also checking this out for funding opportunities. We did hold a research symposium at our PKD Connect conference in June. It was in Denver. So many of these recordings are either available now or will be shortly. Just want to, perfect. I want to point out we had a session with Dr. Watnick where she spoke about some of her award-winning work, and then 5 other sessions, which were made up of smaller, shorter presentations, which were really fantastic. So please check those out, and we'll also have future opportunities to join us for those. We'll have a call for abstracts. Great, and then just wanted to give you access to our listserv here. It's a monthly newsletter that goes out to our researcher community. We share our requests for funding applications, any scientific meetings or new resources that we hear about. So please sign up and keep in touch with us and keep track. And hopefully, if you're interested in applying for a fellowship or a grant, we'll also alert you there when those are ready. And then here are our 2 emails. If you have questions, full disclosure, research@pkdcure.org just goes right to me. So either way, you can't avoid me, but please feel free to reach out. Very happy to answer any questions. And thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Elise. That was nice. Let me ask you a question very quickly. Is PKD Foundation involved with ASN? Do we have some booth that's going to be there this year?
Yes, thank you. We do have a booth. Yeah, we'll have resources. We'll have pens with swag. We'll be in the nonprofit corner. They're gonna shuttle us off to the side. But we also have an informational poster about our registry, so we'll be all over. Yeah, please come check us out. Say hi. Our entire research team will be there.
Awesome. There's a question in the chat. Are there plans to expand funding to non-PhD or MD degree holders, such as for PhD candidates? I was planning to ask that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the two gaps that we see in our funding right now are helping young investigators transition to faculty, which is part of the Young Investigator Award. It's not enough. And then pre-PhD. So yeah, we have those in our strategic plans. We haven't quite figured out what it should look like. But if you have ideas or models you want to point to from other organizations, please share them with me, because that always helps accelerate things if we can not start from scratch.
Great. How do you think people can get involved with the PKD Foundation?
Well, a great thing I'd recommend, we're right in the middle of our walk season. I find it really invigorating to go and meet the families that we're really all hoping to serve long term with our research projects. We also have a lot of great researchers who come and have booths and they talk about their projects. And so definitely encourage that. And then just sign up for that listserv. I'll tell you, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of ways we want to engage with you. So that'll be the best way to find out what might interest you.
On that note, like, could you also speak about some career opportunities that there is at the foundation?
Career opportunities, yeah. So we have a lot of focus on community support right now. We really want to expand our education. I think our research team right now is really focused on the ADPKD registry. And thinking about expanding that as a research tool. But I think that's going to be largely a partnership collaboration opportunity as opposed to expanding our internal team, but we're still trying to figure that out. Yeah, if you are interested in supporting patients or education or medical education, what is that called? CME development. We have a lot of new initiatives that we're starting. So please do reach out. Always happy to talk to someone about opportunities. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Great. I guess we don't have any more questions in the chat. That's about it. So I hope to see you in the discussion session. Maybe you'll get a lot of questions there. It'll be fun.
Sounds good. Thanks for the
Thank you so
opportunity,
much.
everyone. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we will move on to our next speaker. Dr. Christine Merrick-Bilkin is a program officer in the Division of Kidney, Urologic, and Hematologic Diseases at the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, or NIDDK, at the NIH, where she oversees a portfolio of grants related to research on sex and gender differences in renal diseases, diabetic and polycystic kidney disease. She also oversees early career training programs in kidney and urology research fields. Christine received her PhD from the University of Melbourne in Australia in renal physiology in 1997. Following postdoctoral training at the University College in London, she joined Georgetown University Medical Center in 2001 as an assistant professor and then as an associate professor in the Department of Physiology and Biophysics at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in 2008. She concluded her academic research career in 2013 after joining the NIH as a program officer. And today she's going to talk to us about NIH funding opportunities for trainees. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thanks for the kind introduction, Victoria. Can everybody hear me? I've had some issues with my computer this morning, so just making sure. It's rather unfortunate that we kind of meet on this to talk about this topic online, because this topic is kind of boring to lecture on. So I hope nobody's going to fall asleep. I'll try to keep it dynamic. And if you want to make it even more dynamic, please feel free to stop me and ask any questions as we go along. So I'm going to get straight into, in the interest of time, straight into answering the question, where on earth would you find information about getting funded at the NIH? So like most things in life, everything starts on Google these days. So this is their website called researchtraining.nih.gov. And it's considered really the best first starting point to getting the basic information about programs that might be available to you at the NIH. Now, given that it's a government website, I'd say surprisingly, it's very user-friendly and very informative. So please go write this website down. It really is helpful. So for example, I'm just going to use an example of a PhD student, perhaps, who is trying to get funded at the NIH. So if you are a PhD student, you will see that there is this bottom bar here. There's opportunities for pre-doctoral training, whether you're a PhD or an MD, in fact. And if you clicked on it, you get to this page where you'll get a list of notices of funding opportunities, or NOFOs. We used to be called FOWAs, so please, we in government like to change these acronyms periodically to keep you on your toes. So NOFOs are now in fashion. And based on the title of them, you can sort of figure out, based on your career stage and where you're at right now in your training, that which one is most appropriate for you. So if you're a PhD student, you'll probably want to apply for an F31. Okay, so you click on the F31, the next page gives you all sorts of information that you wanted to know, or maybe even didn't want to know. But the point of it is that it will give you details on very specific criteria for the application, eligibility, application submission process, review, etc. But the most important thing, as far as I'm concerned, it actually gives you a link to talk to a real person. So if you are interested in kidney research, and given that this is a PKD specific symposium, I'm presuming everybody's interested in kidney disease, you'll click on NIDDK, which would be your home institute, so to speak. So you'll see a list of all the program officers that are involved in training at NIDDK. And if you're, obviously kidney disease, you look at kidney disease on the left side of this slide, and you'll see my name. So now you have a real person to talk to. And I should say, it's not a requirement. I'm not making you call me, but I can certainly tell you I'm here to help you in any way I possibly can. I can give you some information about the program that may not be in the program and announcement, some helpful tips. I sit in these review meetings. I know what the reviewers expect, and certainly can be a resource. So please reach out to me early in the process. Okay, so this is kind of a busy slide, and I don't want you necessarily to kind of learn yourself with the details of it. All the point of the slide is really to show that we have many programs. Regardless of what career stage you're in, we have a program that suits your needs. Now, there might be some international students on this call who will ask me, well, you don't have a program for me because I'm a citizen or permanent resident. And you'll be absolutely true in saying that. And I apologize on behalf of the federal government. But it's not my fault, and it's not the NIH call at all. Anyway, we do have some programs that you can apply for even if you're an international student. But again, the point here is reach out to us. We can discuss your needs and hopefully find a program that will fit your need. We are predominantly talking about individual training programs here, and that those are on the upper side of this horizontal arrow. On the bottom side, institutional training awards, which some of you may be on, but I'm strongly encouraging everyone, even if you are on an institutional training award, to apply at some stage of your career, hopefully early, for individual fellowship awards. It looks much better on your CV. Okay, so now that you've kind of know what program you might want to apply for, and you've contacted your program officer, what is the next step? Well, the first thing is I ask the people to really read the instructions. Okay, I know it sounds trivial, and as I said, our program officer is here to help you navigate the process and write the application, not necessarily write the application, but answer the questions. So in order for you to have the questions, you really need to read the instructions and come informed to the meeting that you will set up with me to discuss. One of the most important things that I will tell you on that call, and I'm going to tell you today, is that when you're applying for a fellowship or career development award, you are not applying for an R01. Just have that in mind. Most of you are familiar with R01s because they're the research grants that your mentor may have been familiar with and told you about. Fellowships have different elements, and while the science is always important, there are actually the training aspect of the fellowships, and career development is even more important than the science. I'll talk briefly about, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip a couple of slides just to touch upon certain elements of these applications. The bias sketch. The bias sketch is really the first time a reviewer will meet you, so to speak, okay? And as we know, first impressions matter. So use that kind of personal statement segment of the bias sketch to introduce yourself, to tell them your personal story, why you're applying for this fellowship, what will it do for you in your career? So use that kind of section to highlight your achievements and your strengths. And as I said, why you're applying for this fellowship. It's natural that at an early career stage, you may not have maybe the publication list of your mentor who's been in the field for 20 years. So what I'm trying to say here is don't try and, so to speak, pad your bias kit. Put the most important things in, highlight your achievements, but don't overdo it. Really keep it real. The key really here, what I'm trying to say in this slide is, as I said, it's not just the science, it's your career development and what your long-term career goals are that will determine what the training program that you are trying to apply for will look like. If it looks like it's so-called vanilla flavored or something that you could have cut and pasted from somebody else's application and stuck in yours, the reviewers will see through it. They are looking for something that is catered to your needs, based on your training needs, based on your career goals. You need to propose a plan that is catered to you. So make it really unique. Make it, flavor it to your unique situation. Your primary mentor is typically a well-established investigator who has got significant NIH funding, but it's not always the case. It can be somebody who's more junior, in which case you want to identify probably a co-mentor or co-mentors. But the trick here is then to clearly justify how they will interact and what expertise, complementary expertise they are bringing to the table to your training as well as the project that you are pursuing. A typical question also that we get asked is, can the co-mentor be somebody at your institution or can it be somebody at a remote location? Now, until recently, the answer probably would have been different, but in this day and age, we're all meeting in Zoom. Clearly, you can meet your co-mentor on Zoom as well, as long as you provide justification and thank you, justification and logistics, how that relationship would work if it's a remote one. Now, the research plan, as I said, science is important. While it may not be the most important thing in your training, it's very important that you focus on a hypothesis because that's where the science is going to drive you. We know that life happens to everybody, and experiments go wrong. Let's face it. So you need to carve out a section in your application to address some of those pitfalls, et cetera, et cetera. At the end, when you've put all these information together, a product that often comes out is this over-ambitious or unrealistically large project. Now, I always give an advice to applicants that come to me early on that in these situations, more is less. So instead of proposing this huge project that is unrealistically achieved within the time frame of the project, it's much better to have fewer experiments that are more digestible to the reviewers, that they can have less things to criticize, and that you don't get that kind of compliment of being overambitious. It truly is not a compliment in this situation. Quickly, reference letters. I know many of you treat it as a formality. They're really not formality. The reviewers look at them very closely. So make sure that you get somebody who knows you, who's going to write a personal letter. If reviewers think that person who's writing the letter, just provided a generic kind of letter, they might think that, well, this person may have not been, so good, so I'm not going to spend so much time writing a good reference letter. So make sure that they are not treated as a formality. They're not treated as a formality, and get somebody to write a really good letter for you. So the final advice I want to give you, and I'll 10 more seconds. Final advice I want to give you: never give up. There are situations where you might get funded the very first time, but more likely than not, you won't. You'll have to resubmit. So you'll get a summary statement, review it with your mentor, with your colleagues. Come to me often. Come to me early in the process. I'm here to support you in any way I possibly can. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was very informative. So we have one question in the chat so far. Hi, when is the clock starting for the postdoc K99 4-year timeline? The dispense date or the ceremony date or the appointment letter date? What's the timelines?
Not an easy answer to. It's very specific for different institutions, treat things differently. So it's the best thing to reach out for your personal situation, best to reach out to the program officer, discuss your specific situation, you'll get a more specific answer. I can give you a general one that is really not useful.
Nicole has a question.
Are government shutdowns possibly affecting funding? That was my first question.
Are you trying to get my blood pressure up? Yes, it's going to affect everything. So if the government, God forbid, shuts down, and it looks likely, we are not allowed to work. We can't fund anything. We can't make any funding decisions. There is no money. We have no budget. So everybody gets affected by this. But please don't panic. We will eventually, get the budget, and we will come back to work, and you eventually will get funded, and we'll be here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
There is a question regarding an email blast that went out earlier today that said, effective for new applications submitted on or after January 25th, 2024, NIDDK will no longer limit total support between an institutional career development award, K-12 or KL2, and an individual career development award, K01, K08, K23, K25. Is this specific to a K-12 at NIDDK or K-12 from, or any K-12, like if somebody's on an Interacta from a different institute? What does that mean?
Okay, so again, I'm going to give you a general answer. These notices usually come out with very specific language. If it says only NIDDK, it will only affect NIDDK. Okay, sometimes we are the institute who initiates these policy changes, and then other institutes might tack on to us. And then that's also included in the announcement. So I don't know if other institutes have tacked onto it or not. That's why I'm giving a kind of a government-like answer. A lot of talk, but no specifics on it. Just look at the announcement. It will have to have a list of all the institutes that are affected by the policy.
So kind of a follow-up question to that. If there is a policy that goes out that like new awards will no longer be funded, all of the ones that have already been funded will allow to be finished, correct?
Yes, and typically in those announcements that will be clearly delineated. If we discontinue a particular program, and it happens, the ones that have already been funded, they're funded, they're obligated. We will fulfill them in their full in entirety. We are not allowed to just take money away from you, so you're not affected by it. But moving forward, for example, a particular program is no longer available. We may have a replacement program, then you can apply to that new one instead.
Perfect. Thank you. Great. There is one more question. Do you have any advice for submitting an application that makes it really stand out? Anything that has stood out to you in the past that would be good advice for the future?
Yes. Do you know what really stands out that what reviewers really appreciate? When they read an application that sounds like the applicant wrote. Seriously, I mean, if it looks like it's cut and pasted from your mentors, and remember, fellowships don't give you a lot or give you no money to do research. It's more about you. It gives you money for your stipend, your tuition, and things like that. So it's presumed that the mentor is going to provide the money for you, and they probably have a grant that is already funded. Sometimes fellows cut and paste from that R01, stick it into their fellowship applications, and expect miracles. That never goes down well. So if it looks like you wrote it and you've made some mistakes, I mean, not grammatical errors and things like that, but something that you have contributed to, that you've taken a different tangent, and you clearly tell them, hey, this is how I've contributed to this. They really appreciate the honesty. They also appreciate your honesty in saying, these are the shortcomings. You can't possibly know everything or have done everything at an early career stage. So if you acknowledge that, but also offer solutions maybe to shortcomings that you might have, that also goes down well. So honesty, keep it real, keep it to your level is what the reviewers appreciate, and it does well in review.
Awesome answer. Thank you.
So I think we are now just about out of time. Okay. Thank you so much, Christine, for
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful insight and your very informative presentation. It was very helpful. I think now we have a 5-minute break.